The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Here's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove podcast. We continue our NFL preview with the NFC and AFC North. We'll talk a little Olympics, a little baseball, trade deadline. That's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove podcast.
From Belly Up Sports and the Belly Up Podcast Network, you're listening to the Sports Stove podcast with your host, Vince Stover.
Hey, good looking, what you got cooking? How's about cooking something up with me?
Welcome into an all-new edition of the Sports Stove podcast on a special night. That's right, a Thursday night, presented by Righteous Felon Jerky. Join the flavor revolution at righteousfelon.com and use the code STOVE15 at checkout. Then you can get 15% off your purchase. So let's get into it. I'm Vince Stover, joined by my dad, Dale Stover. Dad, how you doing?
Doing good. We're getting into football season now, so that's good. And that'll mean fantasy football coming up. And of course, we're right in the middle, probably a little past halfway on the baseball fantasy. So a lot going on there. And of course, NASCAR's taking a little break now, but just a lot of things going on.
Yes, a lot of things going on for sure. The Olympics getting started. And so that's an exciting times. I saw that we've got the not too distant future, Los Angeles, and then Salt Lake City, I guess, just got named again for another Winter Olympics and things like that too. So a lot of things there, of course. Should be fun with the basketball, and the track is always enjoyable, I feel like. And, I think to me, the Olympics, especially the Summer Olympics, are always fun. I don't know why the Summer Olympics are different, but I feel like the Summer Olympics are a little bit more fun than the Winter Olympics even as well. So I don't know. Is there one thing in the Summer Olympics that you look forward to?
I always enjoy watching the wrestling and the boxing. That's always real good. I like that. Gymnastics can be real, interesting a lot of times also. But really, it's just really competitive. Excuse me. And, you have to get used to, they've added so many new events to the Olympics, and I think it's the same way in the summer. They have some new ones. So it takes a little bit for a guy like me to get used to that, but they're very competitive and very fun to watch. So, and you always like to see the United States win. And, like I said, track and field's always very competitive, and there'll be a lot of stuff that is. So, it'll be a fun, 2 weeks of activity to watch. And, personally, I always enjoy the Winter Olympics. A lot of things I look forward to there, but the Summer Olympics the same way. Basketball, to me, would be interesting to see how the basketball team does. To me, that's kind of gotten way too political in a lot of ways, but hopefully they'll do well. I know they've struggled a little bit in the preliminaries here, so we will see how that goes. But the wrestling and the boxing I enjoy, and quite a few others.
Yeah, undefeated's undefeated, so you can say struggle, but they still won. That's all that matters at the end of the day. I think, there are things that I watch in the Olympics that I don't ever watch any other time of the year. So track and field would be that way. I don't pay any attention to track throughout the year. But at the Olympics, I do. Gymnastics, another thing I could care less about. Honestly, I could still care very little about, but it's America. So you cheer them on when they're on. There's been some great stories over the years, of course, from that as well. And then a lot, like you said, there's some new stuff that I'm not sure I understand why it's there. But nonetheless, we're going to cheer on the USA, and we're going to enjoy watching the Olympics while we do it, and see where it all runs down to there as well. NFL is so close, Dad, you can almost smell it. Next Thursday will be football on TV. There will be no Thursday nights without football until the year 2025 after tonight. So there you go. Hall of Fame game next week. Texans and Bears start things off, and then of course preseason for a couple weeks. We'll have that by before going into the regular season, of course, as well. So lots of fun, which also means, of course, college football is right around the corner too. So many things happening right now. But we started our NFL preview last week. We looked at the East divisions, the AFC and NFC East. Today we're going to do the North divisions. And what we do is we're looking at each team, looking at their ceiling for this year, their win total, whether we think they'll go over or under. Then we're going to rank positions or position groups 1 to 5, 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. And that'll be head coach, quarterback, running back, pass catchers, which is wide receivers and tight ends, offensive line, the front 7 on defense, and DBs is how we'll break it down today. I believe the AFC North is the best division in football right now. And I think this is going to be such an intriguing division to watch because I think you can make a case for all 4 of these teams winning the division. And as a matter of fact, I'll give you a precursor. There's not one of these 4 teams that their ceiling does not reach the playoffs. All of these teams are playoff-ready teams. They have a lot of talent on their team. Some of them have really good coaches. As a matter of fact, they all have very good coaches. Quarterback, of course, is a big deal. There's potential in all 4 of these teams, and there's talent everywhere as well. So let's get things started with the AFC North, and we're going to start up in Baltimore with the Baltimore Ravens. And, Dad, I see their ceiling as a Super Bowl team. How do you feel about the ceiling for Baltimore?
Yes, I would agree with that. I think the ceiling is the Super Bowl. And like you said, I think this is probably the best division in football. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a big Bengals fan here in this area and was telling him, that you're in a really tough division. And I think that'll be true. But, yes, I had Baltimore ceiling as a Super Bowl.
All right, their win total is at 10.5 games. Again, a 17 game, it's 18 weeks, right? But 17 games. How do you feel about 10.5 for the Ravens?
Again, it's going to be a competitive division, but I would go over that with the Ravens. I think they could get 11 or 12 there. Again, it may be hard, it depends how the division splits here to get a lot of wins, but I would go over 10.5.
Yeah, I would too. Again, health plays a major factor into this, specifically health with the quarterback Lamar Jackson. But as it sits right now, 10.5 over, I just think makes sense for Baltimore. Coach John Harbaugh, Super Bowl winning coach. He's been around and been consistent. I thought maybe a couple of years ago he was going to get fired. And I said then I think it was time for the Ravens to move on, find somebody different. They did not, and they continue to be pretty successful under John Harbaugh. Where do you rank John Harbaugh on a scale of 1 to 5?
I give him a 4.5 there. I think he's a very good coach. He's done it for a long time. I think he's established, his system there. And so I'd give him a 4.5.
Yeah, I gave him a 4. I didn't do a whole lot of halves on coaches. I did some. But I think 4 is a solid number. And again, I think there's only 1 or 2 coaches that I gave a 5 to. I guess 1 coach I gave a 5 to. So a 4 is pretty high in my book, and I think it's a good thing. He's got Todd Monken still at OC. Zach Orr is the defensive coordinator now. Chris Horton at special teams. This has been just a consistent program for several years now. And I think they got a good one up there at head coach. Quarterback, Dad, Lamar Jackson. Where do you score Lamar Jackson at?
I scored him a 4.5 also. Again, I know there's a little question of him about his, how well he's done in the playoffs, but he's very talented, and if he can be healthy, I gave him a 4.5 also.
I got it a 5. I think Lamar Jackson's the top 3 quarterback in the NFL right now. And I put him up there. He's electric again when healthy, of course, but electric and phenomenal at the same time. Running back, a little bit of changing of the guard at running back this year. Derrick Henry comes in from C. They still have Justice Hill there as a backup. Keaton Mitchell. He's been injured, but looked really good when he was healthy.
Testing 1, 2.